my name is Greg Vine, and I'm a lifelong resident of Venice, Florida. I've been here ever since 1955, and clearly Venice is my hometown, and we love it here. And I'm in the real estate business, and I invest and buy and sell property here. And then I spent a great deal of my life volunteering for an organization called VABI, Venice Area Beautification, Inc., which is a nonprofit which has been in charge of helping to create the Venetian Waterway Park, amongst many other trails and connectivity projects in the city of Venice. The trail was actually, original brainstorm was by a lady named Beth Gamble, came from Anchorage, Alaska. And that's 20 plus years ago, and she had always dreamed of having a palm blind trail along the Intercoastal Waterway for biking. Then she moved away and sent me a package of stuff on how to build a trail from Anchorage, Alaska. Lo and behold, along came a project called the Visions of Venice, and that was created by the Chamber of Commerce to respond to the 2020 design charrette that was held by Sarasota County government and the Florida House Foundation, where we brought design professionals from literally all over the country to Venice for a one-week intensive study of what do we want to be 20 and 50 years out. And I'm here to tell you we're now fast approaching the 20-year mark of that work, which was done in 1993, well actually 92, and then culminated in this big charrette in Venice where everybody got together and decided what we'd like to look like. One of the things amongst 13 items that kept coming to the top was a thing called the Venetian Waterway Park, today called the Venetian Waterway Park. Then we called it the Linear Park, for lack of any better name. The process was where, it kept percolating to the top, the trail. But there was nobody building the trail. There was nobody working on the trail. It was in a plan, it was on paper, and it was a good idea. So the chamber then came back and said, let's revitalize the 2020 Visions of Venice task force and ask them to shortlist these 13 items, which we did, and the Venetian Waterway Trail came right to the top. And now what? And the what was, how do we develop it, build it, fund it, manage it? The chamber had an organization called VABI, again, Venice Area Beautification, Inc., that was organized for doing landscape and plantings along our medians and our entryways into the city of Venice. VABI decided that it would be a good idea to reinvigorate that corporation and put it to work and make them in charge of the Waterway Park. That's how it got started. Yours truly literally would go to all the service groups within the community and make public presentations with a couple of storyboards, with a couple of photographs, a line drawing with a blue line drawn down the intercoastal, and said, this is what we're doing. Please help us fund it. And we were blessed rather early on of getting a substantial grant from the Gulf Coast Community Foundation of Venice, and we put it in the bank, and it sat there, and pretty soon the foundation kind of came knocking on the doors. When are you guys going to build something? And we got more intently serious, which we already were, but it was time consuming and numbers of challenges had to be overcome. And then we started pulling in key people that would physically go out and get the job done as volunteers, because we had no budget, we had no money. And some of those people, one of which comes right to the top, was Terry Redmond. Another individual is Monty Andrews, and there's been countless and many others to the tune of hundreds of other volunteers that have been involved. And while we had gotten just a small piece of funding that said, here you are, go get more and make it happen, which was at that time, as I recall, about a couple $100,000. And that was our, if you will, seed capital for matching grants to start the first legs. And there were those in the community that said, you guys are crazy, you can't build it, you're never going to get something like that done with a committee, you can't get the funding for it, you're not going to get the oversight with all the governmental agencies, and then none of the property owners are going to cooperate with you, etc. Well, the rest is history. Piece by piece, learning bit by bit, we would go to different communities where they had trails, and the biggest thing we learned was start with your toughest pieces, get a piece of it built, and then just eat the elephant one bite at a time and keep going down the trail, and everybody, the public, will begin to demand connectivity in putting the pieces together. We have a mobile home park here called Harbor Lights. It's everybody said you're never going to get around that. So we had the Harbor Lights section of this trail, which is a piece of the trail that actually has to leave the intercoastal and weave around the mobile home park because they have a large lagoon. And obviously we couldn't cross that lagoon because they have sailboats that go in and out of their lagoon. Once again, yours truly made presentations upon presentations to their organization, to their group. And then we had more volunteers come in with them and meet with their volunteers. And pretty soon, we had their consensus that, yeah, that's a good idea. Not a bad idea, it was a good idea. And then more and more of their community started becoming core volunteers for our group. And turns out that was the first piece of the trail that was built. And we had over 200 people on one weekend planting multiple, I've forgotten now how many thousands of plants and landscaping materials were installed along that trail system. A great many of the volunteers coming from the mobile home park. So we're pretty proud of that. And if there's one thing I can tell you about VABI is we're consensus builders. We are known for taking diverse groups and bringing them to the table, because virtually every time we would go to turn a piece of dirt in a physical project, the public doesn't realize that there was probably, in general, usually at least a year of planning and paperwork and permitting and agencies review and funding issues and insurance issues and the design issues. And we deal with anywhere from about 10 to 16 given agencies every time we stick a shovel in the ground. The trail we're walking on here, we had everybody involved, including the folks, the birding organizations, the gopher tortoise organizations, all of the environmentalists and environmental organizations, all to the betterment of this project. It turned out fabulous, and in fact on our walk today I suspect we'll probably see some birds, maybe an eagle or two. We'll see what we can capture on the camera while we're out here.
What do you see as the trail's most beneficial aspect to the community?
Community, period. The sense of community. People now come out here, and if you were to pan your camera here, you'll find two gentlemen who just hooked up, just met on the trail here with their pet. They're talking with each other, they're enjoying nature, they're out with their family member, in this case the dog, which, by the way, we're pet friendly on this trail. We're also fully ADA compliant, so people can bring anyone out here, wheelchair bound, or people out here can, rollerblade. And so it creates vignettes. We're sitting on a park bench that was paid for and donated by a family. In fact, the family on this one was who? In honor of Ronald Alexander. So this family had paid us, I forget now, I think it's like $2,300 or $2,500 as a donation for this bench that will be here in perpetuity. And there are literally hundreds of these benches all along the trail. And we have a great place to sit and watch wildlife. And